Hello, everybody. Hello, YouTube. Hello, lovely humans of Earth. Hopefully, everyone is having a great beginning to June. We're only a few hours into June. But personally, I'm excited for June. I feel like June is good vibes. I feel like it's the middle of the year, a good time to assess how we're doing with all our goals, all of our intentions, all of our everything. So I love June. I think it's great. I hope everyone had an interesting May, hopefully. Hopefully it was a good May. And we're just going to be pulling some cards for our forecast for the month ahead, as we tend to do. If you have not watched my May forecast, it might not be the worst idea to do that after you watch this one. Oh, hi, Bella. I owe you a message. It's been a crazy few days up in here, but I owe you a message. I'll get to that as soon as I'm done with this. I love the Nazar. The Nazar is so necessary. I have those all over my apartment, mostly at the windows, to protect from any bad vibes. So, Bella, how was May for you? I know there's a lot of transition. A lot of transition, a lot of changes. And I think that's the case for a lot of folks, actually. A lot of big changes in May. Oh, hi, Joanna. Yeah, feel free to let us know how May was, everyone who happens to be here. So I feel like May, there's a lot of big changes. And I do get some good vibes for the summer. I do get some good vibes for June. I don't feel like it's going to be as cataclysmic as the last few months, like March, April, May. And I feel like it's going to be a bit more peaceful. And there's going to be opportunities should we choose to accept them, is kind of the vibe that I'm getting. But it's not going to be like pushy opportunities. It's going to be stuff that's a little bit more subtle, a little bit more quiet offerings. And if you don't pay attention, you're going to miss the opportunities, is kind of the impression I get for June so far, just like on a vibes level before we pull any cards. And Bella says a lot of stressful changes, just a lot of going back and forth with work. Yeah. Yeah, and I can't wait to get into all of that stuff with you. It's just a lot, but it's awesome. I would rather people have a lot on their plate than literally nothing on their plate and be like bored and not growing and not changing and not expanding. But that's just me. That's just me. Okay, let's see what we got. Oh, and I've already accidentally flipped some cards around. So let me just flip that back. Okay, so let's see. June. What do we need to know for June? What is the lay of the land vibe? So let's see. We'll do some lay of the land cards, and then also what can we do about the vibes? I think that's always fun. And maybe some cards for the solstice. Okay, let's just see what are some vibes we need to know about this month. What is the energetic imprint for June 2025? Let's just find out. I'm going to pull 5 cards for the vibe. All right, that's interesting. Okay, 5 cards for the vibe, and then I'll pull the other ones later. Okay, so we have this interesting mix of 2 major arcana. One is upright, one is reversed. And then we have 3 minors, all reversed. And all of the minor arcana that we've pulled so far are even numbers. There's 2 6s, and there's also a reverse 10. So this is interesting in terms of the numerology, actually. So I'll show you guys this one by one, then we'll get into it, because the numbers here are really fascinating. So we have a 6 of Pentacles reversed. We have the Magician upright, number 1 for the major arcana, 6 of Cups reversed, the Hermit card number 9 reversed, and the 10 of Pentacles reversed. So this is really interesting. You get 2 6s. And of course, 6s to me are related to 9s, probably for obvious reasons. And then the 1 and the 9 relate to this 10. So it's kind of like a nice little present like all wrapped up with a neat little bow, the numerology of this spread. And I always find it really interesting and kind of cool when that happens. It happens a lot in my readings, but this in particular is really interesting. We can also notice that the only card that we have upright for this month is the Magician. And to be honest with you, if I was going to pick one of these cards to be upright for the month, this is absolutely the one that I would choose. Magician is a super fantastic card, and we'll get to that in a sec. But first, I do want to actually address the minor arcana, just because, I don't know, it's just what I feel called to do. So I think it's interesting that we've got these 2 6s. Oh, interesting, Bill. You're saying you pulled the 5 of Pentacles reversed today. God, that sounds stressful, especially around work stuff. 5 of Pentacles is like not our favorite card for that. But did you pull any cards for what to do about it, or like how to get through it? I'd be curious. So, all right, we got these 2 cards starting us off. So this 2 6s reversed starting us off, and the feminine energy, suits of Pentacles and Cups, quite interesting. And so what can we take from this as our lay of the land for June? So I do think that what I said earlier was right. Like, we're not seeing any 5s, so that we've kind of passed the hurdle. Like, we've passed the hurdle of what a lot of the big conflict, the big changes is going to be. Where as a collective, we are not settling down, but like we've passed the worst of it. Like, we've passed the most difficult transitional stages. We've passed the hump. And now we're still kind of trying to figure out, like, where are all the chips going to land? How is everything going to fall? And how are we going to work through it? But 6s do tend to be, we're working through something. Like, after we've passed that main conflict zone, which for me 5s do tend to indicate a lot of more conflict energy. So getting 6s to me is a nice sign that we've been able to move past some of that conflict stuff. One thing I will say about this card, the 6 of Pentacles, this month, definitely don't, what comes up for me is don't be begging people for anything. Don't be chasing breadcrumbs in any area of your life, particularly around workplace stuff, but even around romance. And I'm sorry for my cat who's howling in the background. She's learned that if she makes a lot of noise, I will play fetch with her. So that's my bad. I trained her that if she's a loud mouth, I will play with her. Anyway, don't be accepting breadcrumbs this month. We might be tempted to. We might be tempted to settle for less than we want, less than we deserve. And I know that I say this message to folks a lot, so excuse me for being a bit of a broken record. But this month in particular, it's something that we want to be really attentive to, and making sure that we're assessing all of our relationships, all of our patterns, and making sure that we are not being these little people like begging for something more. Like, that is not really a good position to be in. And anyone who wants to force you into that type of space, that type of role, that type of behavior, likely is not a great person to keep around in your life. They're probably not a great fit. I don't want anyone around me to be doing this to me. I would rather we both be standing up. And to show you guys this right side up so you can see what it looks like. So this is the breadcrumbs card. We do not want to be accepting breadcrumbs. And we also don't want to be like this main dude kind of forcing other people into that either. We want to make sure that we are engaging in relationships that feel reciprocal in some way. And I don't mean that it has to be 50-50. I more mean that the energetic balance, the respect for one another, even if one person is giving almost 100% and the other person is receiving 100%, there's ways to do that where it does feel like an energetic match of high integrity, where no one really feels like they're getting a breadcrumbed experience. And hello, Choi says hi. So we want to make sure that we're just keeping an eye on that dynamic, those types of patterns, those types of relationships with other people this month. If you do feel the need to ask people for money, I might not do that this month. I know some of us might need to, but I would really try to just not do anything that feels out of integrity, and make sure that you're not acting in a way because you want something that is actually out of your integrity. We don't want that. Next card, we've got the 4 of Cups. Not 4 of Cups, what am I talking about? 6 of Cups reversed. And hello. And let's see, Bella's saying Knight of Wands and Devil reversed. Interesting. That's an interesting bunch of cards. So back to this 6 of Cups reversed. So this month, we might be pulled into not like trauma land, but it's going to be an opportunity to look into some of our patterns that we learned from childhood. and to look at them and say, okay, what parts of these patterns, what parts of these behaviors are filling my cup? What parts of these patterns and behaviors are serving me? What patterns and behaviors did I learn that I want to keep with me and bring forward into a conscious, self-aware, emotionally sober adulthood? And which patterns do I just need to kind of release and throw out the window? This can be painting things with a bit of rose-colored glasses at times, which sometimes can be good and honestly sometimes not so good. So just be really aware the lenses through which you're observing your past, especially around any kind of relationships of the heart. This can be family, this can be friends, this can be lovers, romance, anything like that. Don't romanticize the past. This is a month to really examine our patterns, examine our ways of being, and to look at that soberly. It doesn't have to be black and white. It doesn't have to be that extreme. And it also doesn't have to be rose colored. Like, it doesn't have to be this kind of positive neutrality. We want something that is just more objective, more logic based, more observational, so that we can engage in matters of the heart with a little bit more discernment and a little bit more logic and a little bit more stability. You'll notice that both of these cards to start us off are sixes. And of course, even numbers for me do tend to indicate balance, stability. And these are things that we're really going to want to be aware of this month in June. Financial stability, since we've got these pentacles, and then also the emotional stability, since we've got the cups, right? We really want to have both of those things acting in our favor this month, but it's only going to act in our favor if we act in our own favor to make sure that we're doing what we need to do to watch our own shit, basically, and not to shoot ourselves in the foot. 10 of Pentacles. This is an interesting one. I do like this card. The reversal is really interesting. I feel like many of us this month are likely changing communities or switching communities or coming to some kind of fruition with the communities of people that we're in. Some people might be getting, for some reason it came up, getting married or getting like moving in with a long-term partner, taking relationships to the next level. I see a lot of that happening for some of you guys this month, which I really love. It can also just be switching the communities that we're engaged in. If you feel the need to leave behind your friend group or your community or your workplace or wherever you congregate around a lot of people, you might be realizing this month that you've kind of reached the highest amount of growth that you can around those people. And you might be realizing, okay, it's time to step away from that. I've taken that to its highest degree. There's nothing else I'm going to be getting from that. And so it's time to kind of move on. And this isn't a judgmental type of thing at all. It's more just a self-awareness, a self-assessment of like, okay, have I learned everything I can here? Does this feel good still? Because sometimes we're in communities for a reason, a season, a lifetime. Sometimes we're just there to learn some lessons and move on. And that is okay. And that doesn't mean anything disparaging necessarily towards that community or group of people. It just means that perhaps we've outgrown it or we're just on a different path. And that's completely fine. So I do think that this month is a really good time to assess some of that stuff. See that as being an important thing for a lot of us this month. Next up, we have the Hermit reverse. This is interesting. And so we might be tempted this month to spend a lot of time alone. And I don't see that as necessarily being a bad thing. However, we have to make sure that our alone time is actually in service of our soul, our spirit, and our regeneration. Whenever I see the Hermit reverse, it's usually a call out that the alone time that people are having is actually what's coming up is like kind of toxic. I know that word is a little bit overused, but it's like a toxic alone time that just gets you deep into nothingness. And that could be doom scrolling on Reddit, on Instagram, on TikTok. Maybe you're just watching silly videos for hours on end and wasting your time. And there's nothing wrong with doing that every now and then, but when that time just balloons and it takes away from things that would actually be rejuvenating, like going on a walk for the beach, or I don't know, like going to a yoga class or reading a book for an hour or taking a bath and meditating, these things will actually refill our cup and get us closer to who we are and who we want to be. They get us closer to figuring out what is that light that is in the hermit's lamp, which is kind of an important thing, right? We all need to know what that spark, that glow, that light is for ourselves on our journey in this life in order to be on our path, our path that is uniquely ours. And so when we have so much noise from other people, whether that's just like people's opinions, people's like babbling, or we are just taking in so much bullshit on social media or whatever it happens to be, that can really dim our access to this light that we all have inside of us. And so that is an incredibly important thing to protect, to safeguard, and make sure that we're taking the time to get to know ourselves, regardless of the noise, whether that's just, again, community, family, friends, etc., or whether it's just taking in too much from TikTok or social media or whatever happens to be. So this month, really important to make sure our alone time is replenishing, is rejuvenating. Are we learning something? Are we actually feeling relaxed and replenished by the end of our alone time? If not, you probably need to make some changes. I don't say this from a judgmental place. We've all been there, but our time on this earth is finite, and it does make sense to be aware of how much time we waste and to notice the ways that we feel replenished and the ways that we feel drained from our downtime. Not to say that we need to be, going on walks and taking baths 24/7, but just be aware of what is that balance for yourself. Do you really feel rejuvenated by the things that you've been doing to quote unquote relax, or do you just end up feeling worse? So that is just something to keep in mind for this month. So moving on, this is our only upright card so far. So I love this card, the Magician. So I do think June is going to be the beginning of a journey for a lot of us. This is, as you guys know, one of the first cards in the entire deck. Card number 1, there's only the Fool, card 0 that comes before it. So this is really that first card that talks about creation, manifestation, and just bringing things into being. We see the lovely infinity symbol over this guy's head, which reminds us that we have this power to infinitely create our life every day. It's a power that most of us don't take on board and kind of take for granted and forget that we have. A lot of us forget that we have this ability to manifest, to create, to change our circumstances, and to improve our lives. It's an easy thing to forget, but each of us has this inside us all the time, and this really lovely card is reminding us of that. You'll notice he's got the as above, so below hand symbols. And so with that, I like to think of it as this balance between as within, so without. As above, so below. It's as inside of us, as we have, let's say, our intentions, so we are going to manifest and create that situation externally as well. This card, the Magician, obviously is about magic, and magic ultimately is about manifestation and creation, switching around our circumstances so that they're in alignment with what our desire is, with what our will is, with what it is that we want to experience and want to have happen. This card is also a reminder that we've got everything that we need in our toolkit, our toolbox, etc., to manifest this life that we desire. You'll notice that there's one of each of the 4 suits on his little table. And so some of us might be tempted to, I don't know, just like disparage your life experience and forget all that you've been through and forget who you are. But this card is a reminder that you're more capable than you're giving yourself credit for. And it is time to put all of that into action. It is time to begin to take ownership of our life this month. Incredibly important stuff. If there is anything in particular that you want to manifest or bring into being this month, focus all of your energy and attention on that. I think we might need to have some hermit time to figure out what exactly it is that we want to move and push our energy towards. I think that's a really important thing for everyone to be thinking about this month. Any thoughts, feelings so far, my friends? I know there's a few of you guys here live. Just going to sip my smoothie for a minute. But some interesting cards so far. And I'm going to maybe pull some for what can we take from last month? What can we learn from May, the month that we just left behind? What can we learn from the past month that we just had? Okay, we got a bunch jumping out here. Okay. So what can we learn from the month that we just had? We've got a few cards here, and I will do them one by one. We have one major arcana here, and then the rest of it is minors. We still don't have any swords, which is interesting, and only 2 of these are upright. Okay, so let's get into it. So what can we learn from the month that we just had? What can we learn from May? So the 8 of Wands reversed is a reminder to keep our eye on the prize and to not become scattered. This is very much putting all of our eggs in one basket is not always a bad thing. Sometimes it actually means that then we're able to achieve that thing that we want to achieve. Last month, there's the possibility that we were a little bit scattered. Maybe we did not direct all of our willpower and energy to those things that we really wanted to do. And so this month we can learn from that and decide, okay, it's time to actually move ourselves fully with intention, 100% commitment to those things that we want to do. Perhaps we did a little bit half-ass last month, and so we're going to do it with our full ass this month. I think that's not a bad thing. The Page of Cups reversed for last month. This one is funny. I think this one is kind of calling something about my experience out. Maybe this is true for some of you guys. But Page of Cups reversed is often a sign that there is someone that we've met where maybe they seemed to be a good potential suitor, but like actually we're not. So there could have been someone trying to introduce themselves to you last month, or asking you out or whatever, or wanting to do a business deal with you or something like that. And it turns out that maybe that was not a good fit. And so that is something that we can learn from what we just experienced in May. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, maybe that doesn't apply to you in particular, but I think it will be the case for many of us. So we do have a major here, but I want to talk about the minors first. Next up, what can we learn from May? The Knight of Pentacles reversed. And I think this is interesting because it relates quite nicely to that 8 of Wands reversed. So Knight of Pentacles reversed, you'll notice the Knight of Pentacles is the only knight that is completely still. He's not moving. He's not doing fucking anything. And so sometimes this is good. When it's upright, I would say it's good. But when it's reversed, it's like, okay, we are stuck in the mud. We are in molasses. We are being so not proactive when we should be proactive. Sometimes it's good to be completely still and not move and just hold our ground. But when it's reverse, it's like that's actually not serving us in any way. It means that we're actually, sometimes staying still means that we're taking 5 steps back. And I think that is what some of us experienced last month in May. And so we can take this as a lesson to not stagnate and to call ourselves out in any situations where we were stagnating. Because I think, you know, we're all human. We all are going to have these seasons of stagnation. But I think it's also really important to call ourselves out whenever we do that, right? And whenever we are so stuck in the mud, whether that's due to fear or inhibition or just worries or just analysis paralysis or procrastination, sometimes that stuff is not good. We all are going to fall prey to it at some point. And so the point is to just move forward, keep on trucking. And we see that if we do that, we will experience some success. So we've got the 6 of Wands, very much the card of victory and success. I love this. You'll notice it's yet another horse card. So movement, very, very important. And so I think what we can take from the month of May as we move forward into June is that we need to call ourselves out on the ways that we're procrastinating, call ourselves out on the ways in which we're holding ourselves back and just not taking action and just being a spectator in our own life rather than a creator of our own life, right? And when we do decide to move forward with intention and with all of our energy moving towards what we want to move towards, we're much more likely to experience this victorious movement, momentum type of experience. And what's really important with this card too is making sure that we're inviting other people along for the ride and choosing to surround ourselves with people who want to see us win. That's a really important thing that I see a lot of people just not doing or not valuing or just trying to pretend that it's not important, but it honestly really is important to be able to be around people who are supportive towards us. And now you'll notice that we've drawn, again, all of the minor arcana are even numbers. So that's an interesting pattern. And now we have 3 out of the 4 6s of the entire tarot deck, even though we've only pulled like 10 cards. And so the odds of that are quite unlikely. And I think it's very interesting that we've got 3 6s, and then June is the 6th month. So I kind of love that as a nice little like icing on the cake, paying attention to the numerology that we see here. Quite cool. So next up, for what did we learn from May, the Hanged Man? We have learned that sometimes inaction is important. Sometimes it can give us a new perspective. And so I think part of it is learning that difference between being the hanged man and just being inactive and kind of in surrender to observe. And there's a difference between that energy and then the reversed Knight of Pentacles energy, which is about stagnation. And I think sometimes people are going to get these confused, right? And it's a totally easy thing to get confused because the difference between one and the other can be the span of just a week or two, right? Or just that slight inaction. And so sometimes it is really good to just take a pause and to observe and to reflect and to kind of work from that space of observation and different perspective, which we see in this card. That's a really important thing to know how to do. And then to know when, okay, actually this has gone too far and I'm stagnating. Right? It's really, really important to learn that discernment and figure out which is which. And so hopefully we've learned some of that discernment, right, this past month and are moving forward towards really knowing, okay, can this be a meaningful pause? Because I think a meaningful pause, a meaningful intentional shift in our perspective, trying to see things from a different light, where we can learn something new about how we're moving, where we're going, all of that. There's a difference between that and just stagnating and kind of putting our head in the sand and just being intentionally in this kind of sinkhole that really is not in service to us and our growth. So there's something quite interesting about that. I love those cards as things that we've learned from May. Like, I think that's really, really beautiful. And I think they do mix quite nicely with the lay of the land for June. And I do love that we've pulled 3 out of the 4 6s for this fun reading about June. And there's 6 viewers right now, which is kind of cool, moving into the 6th month. So I kind of really love that. So let's see. So what can we do? What actions can we take to make the most of June? So I'm actually going to pull a card for each of the 4 elements here. So let's start with swords, aka air. So what do we need to keep in mind for our thought process, our thinking, our rationality, our logic, our intellect? What do we need to know about that for this next month? Let's just see. I'm just giving these cards a little bit of a shuffle so you guys can't really see what I'm doing. Let's just see. What do we need to know and think, etc. for June? I'm getting 2 cards for some reason. Okay, interesting. So we got our first odd minor. The 7 of Wands reversed. So I think with this combined with this, so I got 2 cards for our thought process, our air energy, our swords energy for June. 2 reversals. Knight of Wands reverse. Interesting. We're seeing this pattern of these horses movement. And so this is an interesting combination. I'm going to read them one by one. So we need to make sure that we're not intellectualizing our tendency to, let's say, overperform or solve other people's problems or whatever. This is very much a whack-a-mole card. So it's like, notice this person is like kind of trying to bat away all of this stuff. I'll show you guys upright so you can see what's going on. They're like, ugh. And so I do see a lot of people trying to solve everyone else's problems, trying to put out fires, trying to overperform, etc., and might be creating like rational kind of thought-based reasons like why we need to do that and why we need to move towards. And again, the knights are movement, why we need to do, why we need to move. So I would say the takeaway here, and this is quite an interesting cards to come up in this question with this position. So how I would see this is it's important to stop rationalizing and using logic to explain our overexertion and our overwork and our desire or our being okay with draining our own energy. So instead of doing that, it's actually much better to conserve our physical energy and allow some of these hot potatoes to drop. Rationalizing away and logicking away our tendency to overdo is not in service to anybody. at all. And so with these cards coming up for that, I would say I'm actually going to pull one more for this, just as kind of like, let's just see what comes up. Okay, yeah. That is not teaching us anything. Actually, the lesson is going to be in allowing other people to step up and take over. Sometimes this behavior comes from a lack of faith that other people are able and capable. And they're never going to step up if we don't create the space for them to do so. And so I think intellectually, we need to, this month, allow other people and create space for other people to step into their power. We don't have to do everything. We don't have to solve everyone's problems. We need to right size how we're expending our energy. And if you need to use some logic to stop overdoing, then do that. I think that's an important one. That's kind of a fun series of cards. Unexpected, but I like it. All right, so how about our fire? How can we engage with our fire and our doing and our motivation energy this month? Let's just see. Okay, interesting series of cards. All minors. So here's what we got. So I'll do our upright card first. It's going to be really important to pick our battles this month. Notice what squabbles you find yourself pulled to, and I would say just don't fucking do them. It's going to be really important to protect our energy, our fire this month by choosing our battles. The more silly battles that we engage in, the less energy we have to focus on what it is that we really need to be doing this month. Really, really important. And Ace of Wands reversed, Knight of Cups reversed around how can we be moving with our motivation. I would say this is probably not a month of a lot of romance. I'm just going to say that. I could be wrong for some of you, but I would just not really focus on that this month. I would, if other people want to take the lead in doing that for you, let them. But I personally would not be chasing anyone this month romantically if I was you. And I would also not be starting any new projects. I think June is a month for finishing up, or at least putting a big bunch of efforts into whatever it is that is halfway finished. So I would not start like a new project this month. Like, so for instance, I think for me, that's about like working on the book I've already written rather than writing a new book, even though I have ideas, you know? So finishing up those projects that are kind of half-baked rather than starting new things. All right, so how about for water, our emotional life for June? Let's see, what do we need to know? Ooh, interesting. All right, I'm going to show you these and then I'll read them one by one. So our emotional life for June, what do we need to know? Interesting. So the devil. This month, we need to be really aware of what our bad coping habits are. The devil comes up around addiction, around compulsive behavior. Sometimes this is going to be sex addiction. Sometimes it's going to be drugs, alcohol. Sometimes it's going to be like shopping addiction. Any kind of compulsive behavior that you have a hard time controlling. I would say the devil is kind of a bit of like reminding us to just keep that under wraps, to really look at, okay, what are our maladaptive coping mechanisms and what can we do about that? Maybe there's something different we can do instead to just deal with our shit, right? And since this comes up around our emotional life, I would say be really careful around this, particularly in your love life. So if you notice yourself getting pulled into unhealthy emotional dynamics with people, it's just something to kind of watch. Don't bankrupt yourself over any romantic relationships. It's important. And make sure that you're not spending time with anyone who wants to belittle you or who you have to shrink to be around. We want us to all be like this, right? Queen of Cups, upright, in our sovereignty, in our personal power. If anyone does want to deprive you of your power or make you shrink, that's not probably a good place to spend your time or energy in general, but this month in particular. Like, it's just not the vibe. But this is a really, really important card, honestly. Notice the things that you feel powerless around And again, whether that's shopping, like every time that company releases a new lipstick, you have to buy it, or every time you see someone attractive, you have to sleep with them immediately. Like, notice these patterns in yourself. Like, even if it's like you can't say no to that next drink or that next shot or whatever, like, notice what these bad patterns are for you. We all are going to have something to overcome at some point. For some people, it's going to be something really extreme. For other people, it's going to be a little bit more chill, a little bit more minimal. But whatever it is, it's something that's really important. Often this devil behavior, this devil habit, whatever that is for you, often it's going to come up when you are feeling, let's say, emotionally vulnerable or emotionally weak, or you have some emotion that is just so big that that's the only way that you know how to cope with it. Right. And I think since this devil is upright, most of us probably know what this is going to be about. And so it's just a little bit of a flashing light to just notice that stuff this month. We've got this opportunity to rewrite what our relationship is to whatever this devil energy thing is for you. Again, whether that's overly shopping, credit card debt, having way too much drinks, like oversleeping, overeating. It can be pretty much anything. So just notice how do you react to something that is stressful for you. Notice, how do you react when you're uncomfortable? Do you try to fill that hole with like donuts or shopping? Or do you just kind of breathe through it and just meditate and talk yourself through it and just ask your spirits to help you and just like go for a walk or go for a run instead? Those are much more healthy ways to deal with this kind of like fucked up feeling of like, oh my God, there's just so much stress going on for me right now, right? So this is really, really important, especially since it came up around the emotional area of life. And so just try to notice your emotions, try to keep them a little bit under check, and just notice, how do you react? How do you cope with the stressful things in life? It's just an opportunity to notice that stuff. And again, this is not to shame anybody. It's just to say, how can we be more mindful? Can we just notice? Can we slow it down and just observe ourselves? And then make different choices. Is it possible to do that? I think this month it is. And so next up, we've got Pentacles, which is Earth, which is anything body related, physicality, money, all of that fun stuff. Career, it could be as well. So let's just see, what do we need to know about that area of life specifically for June? Let's find out. Oh, nice. Okay, I like this. For some reason, I'm getting told to pull 4 cards. Okay, sweet. These are great. These are great. So I would say this month is actually a really good time to focus a lot of our energy on our physical resources, on our coins. As you guys know, the other name for Pentacles is coins, right? Also our physical body, working out, eating good food, attending to our body as a temple. It's not a vessel, it's a temple. I gotta treat it that way. I just did a podcast episode about this. And so that is what we can do this month. So let's go through these cards one by one. And I love that the first card I pulled for this area of life for this month is the Fool. I love it. So many of us are going to be starting a new journey around these topics, this area of life this month. So many of us are going to be, let's say, starting, and we've got an ace in here as well. So many of us could be starting new jobs, or beginning a new workout routine, or starting a new business, or doing something new. And I love that both these cards of new beginnings and fresh starts are upright. So again, new jobs, new homes. A lot of people are going to be moving right now. It's a physical, earthy thing. We're going to be moving. We're going to be starting new jobs. We're going to be expanding different areas of our business. I know exactly what this is around for me this month. So I'm actually applying for a busker's license so I can read tarot cards random places, just like in the park or whatever. So I think it would just be like a fun, silly thing to do. And the reason I'm doing it is, again, this Fool energy, right? And it's all about just what would something fun and new and exciting be? Like, how can we switch it up? And this Fool energy is so exuberant. It's so in wonder. It's so curious. And so in this physical, material area of life, again, whether it's the body or career or just the physical home environment, anything that is associated with that earthy, physical, grounding element, we're going to want to approach this area of life this month with this joy, curiosity, this exuberance, being so enamored with this amazing thing called life. I think a lot of us sometimes forget like how blessed we are to be alive. Like, that sounds very cheesy, but I really do believe that. And so the more attention we pay to our overflow, gratitude, the more we tend to experience, right? Ace of Cups, very much about that, this overflow So have gratitude for everything that you've been able to cultivate in your life so far. And I think that's the fastest way, the easiest way to attract more of this abundance in whatever area of your life you happen to be talking about. Attract more of that into your life. So I think that is really wonderful. And we have these other two cards too, which is interesting. So we finally got another Swords card. So the Four of Swords reversed, I would say this card always is a bit of a burnout card. So try to rest. And it relates a little bit to that reversed Hermit we saw earlier, right? So this card is very much like if you don't take that rest, intellectual rest, physical rest, your body is probably going to force you to do it, right? We're going to get sick or something. And so with this card showing up, I would say make sure that you're also carving out some time for yourself to rest. 4 days, 4 hours, whatever it happens to be, since this is a Four of Swords. Make sure that you're carving out time to just attend to your inner world and just rest your being in a soulful, embodied way. That's going to be an important thing to safeguard this month as well. And again, it does link nicely to that Hermit card. We've also got the Nine of Pentacles reversed. This is an interesting one. This is very much like a bougie card. I really love this card, to be honest. But it's also a reminder to, since it came up reversed, you'll notice upright is like, look at all the great shit I have, so bougie. And reversed, it's like, why are we not giving ourselves enough credit for everything that we've been able to cultivate so far? Really take stock of our blessings, luxuriate in our blessings, romanticize your everyday life, romanticize your home. Even if you live in like a shoebox basement apartment in a shitty neighborhood and your neighbors are obnoxious, it's like, can you step into gratitude and can you appreciate what it is that you have? Maybe you, I don't know, moved out at 16 or something and you're fully just paying for your own shit. You know, that is something to be proud of, even if it's not like perfect. It's not maybe where you want to be at the end point, but every single stage upon our journey, it's so important to give ourselves love and grace and gratitude for what it is that we have been able to grow, what it is that we have been able to cultivate. Super, super, super important. So choose something this month that is physical, whether it's the money that you've been able to earn, the home that you've been able to create, your relationship to your body and your physical health. Just luxuriate in that a little bit, you know, even if it's something as simple as like putting figs on a salad or using one of those like sheep face masks for your skin, like whatever it happens to be, just romanticize your existence a little bit, spend some time in that space of gratitude, abundance, and appreciation in a physical way. That's a really, really important thing this month. So I really love that, actually. What a fun series of cards. I think June is going to be really lovely. And I just want to pull a few more. I think warnings and blessings for June. Let's do that. Warnings. Ooh. Interesting. Both cups. So warnings for June. Beware of a male figure in your life who might show up. This isn't a Seven of Swords, obviously, but since it is coming up in a beware situation, I feel like there might be someone who seems like they're in an authority space that is not 100% trustworthy or is not 100% working in your favor. So it's just something to kind of keep in mind. Beware of a male figure who seems to think like he has all the answers for you and he can solve all your problems. I would be really skeptical of that this month. And my computer is about to run out of batteries, but not quite yet. All right, and then blessings. Blessings for June. Blessings, the ability to say no. Blessing is the ability to be happy with what we have, to be grateful for what we have, and to realize that more is not always more. Sometimes less is more. And so learning that discernment, learning when to say no. And a bunch of our cards this month are about reminding us to focus on what matters to us, right? Figuring out what are our priorities. Can we finish these projects that we started? Can we really put all of our energy into doing what's important to us, right? Can we cut out the noise, everything other people want us to do? Can we cut out the distraction of wanting to start yet another new thing? Can we just focus on finishing what we have? That is going to be a blessing of June, should we choose to accept it. We always have choice. We can always decide what we want to do with these energies. But that is what I'm getting for the blessing. I love that. Well, June looks like it's going to be a fun month, you guys. I think these are really nice cards. We didn't have any massive disasters, so I love that. So here's all the cards that we pulled. So if you're just logging on, you're going to have to rewatch from the beginning to get the whole story of this month. But before I go, do we have any questions about all those cards? My phone is like exploding. Oh my God. Any questions, friends? I think June is going to be really nice. Doesn't look like there's any questions in the chat. So I talked like really fast through that whole thing. Well, if you like this reading and you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And if you've not given it a little like, please do that. I feel like I'm still so new to YouTube. Like I don't fully understand the whole vibe. But that's okay. So for everyone who did take the time to watch this video, thank you so much. I appreciate all of you guys sharing a little bit of your day with me. And since my computer is about to die, I'm going to say goodbye in like 2 seconds. But I do want to say that in case any of you guys aren't aware, I do offer tarot reading services one-on-one. And I also offer coaching and mentorship around various topics, whether that is self-improvement, total life transformation, spiritual things, helping you learn magic, witchcraft, ritual, helping you learn tarot, which I also have courses for all of these things. Whatever you need assistance around, please do let me know. And if you're interested in perhaps working with me in a one-on-one capacity, I would absolutely love to hear from you. I absolutely love working with my one-on-one folks. I used to do a lot of group programs, but one-on-one for me has really been incredibly enriching, honestly, both for myself and I'm noticing people get like really insane results, like complete life transformation within a year, like unrecognizably 100% better. So that always makes me feel really, really amazing as a coach. And so if anyone is interested in working with me on literally anything, whether that's bad life patterns or whether that's learning to read tarot better, learning how to create rituals and work with your own spiritual cosmology, whether that is working as a small business owner, as a professional artist, or someone who is showing up online in these ways that I do, whatever it happens to be, whether it's love, relationships, friendships, weird patterns of behavior, I'm happy to help. So I do be in touch, and I do have some spots for new coaching clients and also tarot readings over the next little while. So if any of that is interesting to you, I would love to hear from you. Happy to answer all your questions. My website is sabrinamscott.com in case you don't know. And that is the tarot reading for June, my friends. I hope you guys have a really wonderful month, and I will catch you on Flipside, aka in another video, probably sometime soon. There's a lot of stuff I want to be commenting on that has been happening in the spiritual influencer community. I'm sure a lot of you guys are sick of it, but I've been asked to give my opinion, so I probably will be doing that sometime soon. And I'll catch you guys later for the next month ahead tarot in July, which is insane. All right, y'all. Take care. Bye.